let's see, what is the show about? Well, I'm working with, begin in street art and bring street art into the gallery, likewise bring the gallery and studio into the form of street art. So I'm working from graffiti and trying to do an interchange between my studio practice and what I call my field practice. So, I'm bringing objects from the field. I paint train cars a lot of times, so I'm bringing the materials from the train yard, such as the spikes, the plates, all that, bringing them into the shop, because I do the graph out there, bring the materials into the shop, do welding of those materials in the shop. I've also been doing something, graffiti welding, where I fabricate steel objects in the studio, and then I bring those out into the field with a backpack oxyacetylene torch and weld them up around town. Primarily focusing on object form portraits rather than text-based graffiti art. That's what I'm working on.
So your paintings here behind us, can you talk about the materials? Are there found materials?
There are a lot of found materials. I don't paint canvas. I paint all upcycled wood. I like the idea of the built-in history to materials, like I find in the train yard, in alleyways. I paint alleyways as well, so I find it's interesting to go to the places that I do graffiti and whatnot and bring those into the studio and paint those objects. So all upcycled wood, wood panel, steel too, sheet steel. I like to paint that, carve back into it, grind back into it.
The painting that you use is like spray painting or is acrylic?
Yeah, I use spray paint. Some are solely aerosol. Others are a mix of aerosol and acrylic. I don't really call my paintings. I feel like they're more drawings than painting. And there's a lot more focus on mark making and line rather than manipulation of space. And that's like another thing in traditional graffiti tends to be the 3D manipulation of space and whatnot. So I'm trying to work with different elements, I guess.
And about your sculptures, what can you say?
What can I say about them? I guess materials go back to the spontaneity and energy that's inherent to graffiti. I try to relate in a lot of my materials using plaster, production molds that I make out of silicone rubber. So it's a lot of repetition. So that goes back to the graffiti, a lot of heavy repetition. You'll find an object form portrait. I guess I'm trying to build a dichotomy between the two. And it's not really anymore about whether or not it's relevant or about graffiti coming into the gallery, because that's been happening for quite some time now. So now I think it's more about taking away the focus of the subjective in graffiti's relation to the name and bringing it into the objective. That's what I'm trying to do anyways.
I see that most of your drawings, no paintings, are kind of figurative but not very abstract, like almost graffiti. But
non-objective?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going back again to, I guess, dealing with portrait object form, getting away from the text base of street art and whatnot is more about, we're using the public sphere as a gallery, so you want to relate to the public, and I find with the text-based things, a lot of people feel like they're not included in it because they can't understand the writing that's on the wall kind of thing, so they disregard it, they get upset, they get frustrated, so I guess that's another reason for sticking with the figurative work, the objects, forms, things like that, so that it can address a larger audience is the idea.
Make it easy for people to understand, to read.
Yeah, easier to enter what's going on because it's the public sphere, so it should be for the public. I don't want to try to, it's for everybody.
Did you study some art?
Yeah, I studied at the Nova Scotia University of Art and Design. While I was there, I was a technician in the metal shop, so I worked in the metal shop. I taught classes in mold making and Yeah, I think that's a lot of where the inspiration for opening Studio 34 came. So I own Studio 34 in Nanaimo, and it's a cooperative space for artists to come and either learn how to use new tools, get access to tools they don't have, can't afford to buy, to use. And I teach workshops and classes out of there, mostly built around sculpture. So I do like an introduction to welding class, introduction to stone carving. There's 3 mold making classes, making production molds, 2-part waste molds, and silicone rubber molds, and teach a workshop in like stretcher building, so that because it's a lot cheaper to build your own stretchers and stretch them. So trying to help out the community, the arts community, give people a cheap place to work and learn new things.
Do you have a website or Facebook for the?
Yeah, I've got the Studio 34 website, which is www.studio34.ca, and then there's a Facebook page under Studio 34, so you can.
People can have information there. If they want. Going back to the graffiti, are you still working on graffiti and doing it?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. There's that energy, intensity, spontaneity, yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that just it grabs me the same way as when I'm working with steel and like working with the oxyacetylene torch. You know, you're cutting this permanent material and turning it into liquid metal in front of your eyes. There's something about the connection to materials that I get out when I'm in the train yard, especially. Is what I find.
My last question is, for this show, do you work with those pieces for this show, or you had those pieces and then?
Actually, well, I'm always working on like 15 to 25 things at once, so I'm bouncing between this and that. And they gave me a show probably about 2 months ago. I put in some applications out in Victoria, and gave me a call, asked me if I was interested. I said, sure, why not? And I just kind of brought a bunch of stuff to closure instead of continuing to produce. And, you know, I'm finishing a few pieces a week generally, but to get ready for this, I was finishing a lot more, a lot faster. So, yeah.
So you are planning more shows in the future? Yeah.
Definitely, always. Yep. And I'm always out doing installations and painting in the train yard, painting rooftops, having fun, making stuff. You're welcome.
supply chain is a big deal. Your prices are
Anyway, so.
Wait a minute, I know it, he was there.
Wasn't thinking I'm spending too much red wine. And I just, when, you know, I really drank the wine because I was depressed. And then the next day, and the day after, I felt
So
terrible.
those were two of their really big things. Well, it's great. So, you know, I mean, the merchandise seemed to be okay, but,
That's okay. They might have decided they wound up around 6:30 to say, was there an opening at the alley?
yeah, they parachuted all the supermarkets in the US. One wife's a realtor, and she set the guy, President Jarvis, condo on the lake. He first was here, and he came and went, and they brought a second guy, and he's the one that was on site. Plugged that building. I don't know, it was quite, I can't believe the amount of money they got. I did.
Yeah, it was just like, it was a wash. Really? Yeah, it was brutal.
It was
I never seen anything like it. It's easy. That's why I got opened up.
Really cool. So we came out today as a complete, we came last night, but complete surprise today when we walked out.
Oh, I bet we cried.
No, it's like, so it's kind of neat.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it's phenomenal.
Yes.
I just wish we had thousands more people here.
Yes, I know. It's always been, Fridays I find always really hard because everybody goes so hard all week, just